Please welcome to the stage Betsy Hoover with Higher Ground Labs.
Thanks, Genevieve, and hi, everyone. It's great to be here. Thanks for another fantastic conference. Also, thanks for choosing a venue I could walk to from my house. It's lovely. Genevieve asked me to talk about lessons learned in 2018 and an action plan for 2020 in 5 minutes, which is a large topic.
And I am sorry.
That's okay. We got it. No problem. I'm going to do some top line here, but would love to do follow-up conversations with any and all of you afterwards. First of all, just to introduce myself, my name is Betsy Hoover. I am a co-founder of Higher Ground Labs. We're an incubator and accelerator for political progressive technology. So we do a lot of work understanding the political tech landscape and figuring out where the needs are, and then hopefully investing behind them to make all of our campaigns run bigger and better. So just to start out, midterms usually contribute very little to innovation in political technology. We historically, as a party and a movement, leave that to presidential campaigns where we see a huge spike in technology investment and then nothing changes for 4 years. But the good news is that 2018 was really different in that regards. And we'll talk a little bit about why. First of all, in 2018, every top tier federal race invested in tech infrastructure. And some of that was due to investment at the national level, some at the state party level, and some by individual campaigns. But ultimately, new technology was available to every campaign up and down the ballot in some capacity. And that just has not been true in every midterm in the past. Third, dozens of new tools flooded the market. At Higher Ground, we invested in a couple dozen tools in 11 in 2017 and 10 in 2018. But we had hundreds of applications both years and saw hundreds of applications again for 2019. And so that just says the amount of innovation and talent and new ideas that were flooding the space to be deployed in 2018, coming off of, obviously, Trump's election and the results in 2016. And finally, platforms prioritized integrations with one another. We're not there totally yet. There's still a lot of work to do, but everyone prioritized being able to integrate across platforms, and that allowed people to use new tools where maybe they hadn't before. So as a result, in 2018, technology did improve Democratic campaigns, and we say we saw this primarily in 3 areas. Technology helped us reach more people on campaigns. You've heard a couple of times today about just the massive amount of outreach that a lot of groups and campaigns were able to do, and some of that was due to how they use technology as part of their strategy. We lowered the cost of campaigning. One of my favorite places to point here is in polling. There are a couple online polling solutions that were used for the first time in 2018, and Change Research is one that I use often in the campaigns that I work with, and we also invested behind. With Change Research, you can do a poll for $5,000. The typical poll costs $30,000. So literally, you can do polling at almost the same level at 1/6 of the cost. And that just drastically lowers the cost of campaigning and makes polling and other services like it available down ballot. And finally, we made our outreach more effective. There were tons of new testing tools that allowed us to begin to understand the impact of digital advertising, test some of our digital content, even test mail pieces and other types of communications outreach that we hadn't been able to before. And so these 3 areas were really key in terms of the impact technology had in 2018. I'm going to do a quick case study to just show how that plays out in a congressional race. I'm going to use Lauren Underwood, who from right here in Illinois. Lauren was an outside, brand new candidate, young African-American woman, never run for office before, and really at the beginning of her race had a very long path to having any sort of success. She did a lot of things right. She hired a talented staff. She prioritized being in every community in her very gerrymandered, obscure district. But she also chose to invest in technology. And so She used Change Research as her polling solution. She invested in Mobilize America early as a integration and events platform for volunteer management. And she used Hustle to do text outreach across her district and really put the volunteer hours to use. And so she lowered the cost of campaigning, she reached more voters, and she was able to make that outreach more effective because of her, the technology she invested in. So why did this happen? Why was 2018 different? And I'll point to 4 quick areas here. First is we had a ton of fresh talent, again, coming out of 2016, just a huge number of people excited to be active in this space. The second is campaigns did take risks and chose to invest in technology where they hadn't before. The third, funders put money in. We invested in technology and data in a way that Democrats just hadn't in the past, and we're seeing that continue as we head towards 2020, which is great. And the fourth, there was a shift in narrative. Everyone was talking about the fact that this mattered, and that data and technology and digital needed a seat at the table in order to really move campaigns forward and win back the House, win in 2018. So 4 key areas that we saw really top technology coming out of 2018. The first was voter contact and relational organizing. You've heard a ton about this today already, and you'll hear more about it. The second, I've talked a little bit about polling, but we saw a ton of innovation in polling. The third, around message development and testing, kind of linked to polling, but slightly different as well. Bunch of new tools and platforms in that space. And the fourth, around data, infrastructure, and security. We could spend time talking about all those, but those are 4 areas that I would focus if you're interested in innovations from 18. So real quick, our plan for 2020, 4 things. 1, we're gonna build off the momentum from 2018. There are 4 lessons that I took away from 2018 that for me are in the forefront of my mind as I think about the next 2 years. First is campaign managers, staff, candidates across the board, up and down the ballot, have to remember it's strategy first. Technology makes no difference for a campaign as a shiny object. You've got to have a campaign strategy and then figure out which tech tools fit into that strategy and help you live it out better. The second is invest early. It's hard to add technology at the end, largely because it's hard to get adoption if you don't bring it up until the last month of your campaign. So you've got to invest in your tech infrastructure from day 1. The third, and John just talked about this a lot, and I've heard a couple other times today, training really matters. This is a culture game, not just a technology game. And so the more we can think about the way that our staff and our volunteers are gonna use technology and train around that, the more likely it's gonna make a difference. And the fourth is that integration is a non-negotiable. John just referenced the phrase, if it's not in the van, it didn't happen. I was trained on that phrase as a field organizer in 2007, and in 2020, that is still gonna be true. Data has to flow together. It has to flow between systems, and right now that means it has to be in van. So what are the new solutions that we should be on the lookout for 2020? These are the 4 areas, I'm not gonna go through them because I'm over time, but these are the 4 areas that we at Higher Ground are most interested in focusing on for 2020. And like I said, we've had hundreds of applicants this year and are figuring out which tools we'll invest behind. There'll be others in the space as well, but these are the areas that we're most focused on. And then the last one is focusing on ecosystem partners and making sure we're integrated across different types of entities and organizations. So that's the new data infrastructure, which we've heard a lot about, training and capacity building. There are some amazing groups doing that, funders, all different kinds of them, and then really focusing on our campaign leadership as well. And with that, we will win in 2020. Thanks.